The Plaud NotePin is an AI memory capsule that you can wear. So it's technically a wearable piece of tech. You can wear it around your neck, you can wear it like a wristwatch, or you can even pin it to your clothes using the magnetic clip. You simply squeeze it and it starts recording your voice. Now you're probably thinking, well, my smartphone can do this, even my smartwatch can. And you're absolutely right. But there's one thing that the Plaud NotePin can do really well that none of my other smart devices can, and it boils down to how simple and easy it is to use. Let me explain. So tell me how many times you've found yourself in this situation where you're doing something completely mundane, such as walking, and then a brilliant idea comes to mind. And then you convince yourself, you know what, I'll just write it down as soon as I get home. But you never do. That actually happens a lot to me. And I think part of the reason is there's a lot of barriers that stand between my idea and me capturing it. Now, bear with me because I know it sounds very trivial, but it also totally makes sense. When an idea pops up and I want to capture it, I would have to reach into my pocket, unlock my phone, find the correct app, record my voice or write it down, and remember to revisit it later on. Now, that's a lot of steps to simply capture a fleeting idea. And if you don't believe me, think about how intricately people have designed websites or even apps. One of the best practices is to make sure that the visitor has the least amount of friction to get to what they want, whether it's information that they're looking for or if they want to purchase something. As a matter of fact, according to statistics, 92% of consumers expect a fast and frictionless experience. Now, 60% of those actually abandon their purchases due to a poor experience, such as too many buttons to click, or maybe a page is loading too slowly. And I think it's a similar experience when trying to capture a thought or an idea. Very rarely do I find myself actually wanting to stop what I'm doing just so I can capture an idea, especially if it's a big one. But doesn't mean that the small ideas are not important. Actually, I think small ideas are crucial in the overall creative process. So capturing more ideas, whether they're big or small, is a good thing. The Plot Notepin is that tool that will help you capture those ideas seamlessly and painlessly. To better illustrate how this could be useful for you, I'm going to share my experience using this on a daily basis for the last 4 weeks. The Plaud NotePin comes with 3 different accessories, which is great. I chose to wear it like a watch because it seemed like the natural choice and went about my day. I didn't think too hard of what to capture. I just simply squeezed the note pin whenever a thought crossed my mind, even if it was a simple observation or a reminder. This practice actually helped me clear my thoughts throughout the day, and what's even more surprising is that I never realized how many ideas or observations go through my head. This is especially crucial when I'm trying to think of ideas for my next video. To access your recordings, you have to pair the NotePin to your phone through the Plaud app. It's fairly simple and easy to navigate. Every time you open the app, it'll sync with the NotePin and transfer all your recordings using Bluetooth. You have the option to choose a faster way to transfer, but I found that Bluetooth is fine, even in recordings that are 30 minutes or longer, because to me, it's not the type of device that I need access to immediately. So usually file transfer happens at the end of the day when I'm kind of winding down. Once transferred, you can see the timestamps and the length of your recordings. Right now, it's very vague and honestly makes zero sense even to me when I'm looking back at all my ramblings. And this is where AI comes in very, very handy. If I click on a recording, Plaud will give me the option to summarize the selection with a choice of various templates. More on that a bit later. I usually just go with the autopilot and keep everything in its default settings. It may take a few minutes for Plaud to process it, but it's okay to navigate away from the screen while the AI does its work. Once completed, you'll see that the recording has now been titled. When you open it up, you'll see your recording neatly summarized with a handy overview at the very top. This was honestly a messy thought while I was visiting New York for a few days. I was thinking of ways of how I could review my iPhone 16 Pro, and I really just rambled on. Reading the summary was surprising because certain specifics of it I hardly remember, but the ideas totally make sense. And you can verify this by clicking on the media playback, which will play back your actual recording. So I know that AI didn't just come up with these ideas. You can even choose to view the transcript if you were listening to a lecture or a presentation, for example. Not only that, but if you have multiple speakers, the AI is able to identify them, and you can even assign a name to each speaker for clarity. There's also this feature called mind mapping, which, to be honest with you, isn't something that I really use, but since I'm a visual thinker, I find it really interesting and potentially useful for brainstorming. I mentioned earlier that you have a couple of templates to choose from depending on the context of your recording. They can be for meetings, calls, speeches, or interviews. I find that Autopilot works really well for my use case, which is essentially just capturing ideas. The Plaud NotePin uses ChatGPT 4o to transcribe and summarize your recordings, and I've been quite impressed. But you also have the choice of using another large language model, which is Claude 3.5. That said, the NotePin is able to transcribe over 59 different languages, making it even more versatile. The NotePin has two high-fidelity microphones and uses what they call beamforming algorithms and AI speech enhancement technology to listen and record audio. It does a great job at capturing my voice, even if I'm not directly speaking to it. As a matter of fact, during my visit to New York, I was being given a tour in a crowded event, and despite the loud music and multiple voices, the NotePin was still able to capture important details that I could reference later on.
This is the primary headquarters. How about I walk you through all this?
All this is to simply say that the microphones in the NotePin and the AI's capability to differentiate sound and understand them is actually quite impressive. Okay, so now that you have a basic understanding of how it works, how do you get your transcripts off of your phone into your computer? There's two ways actually. If you open up the app, at the top right hand corner, you'll see the share and export button that lets you share your recordings or transcripts to other people or other devices. Plaud also lets you access your recordings through its web interface, making it even easier to move it to your computer. You'll also get a personal private cloud space for backup, and it'll sync automatically across multiple devices. As far as battery life goes, the Plaud NotePin should last you about 20 hours of continuous recording and over 40 days on standby mode. In a recent Sony event that I went to, I had this recording for over 3 hours, and it was just great to know that I don't have to worry about battery life or that I might miss important information. And those are simply some of the scenarios that I've gone through. This can be useful for lecturers, for doctors, engineers, reporters, journalists. There's a bunch of use cases for a device like this. So, if you find yourself impressed so far, you'll be extra pleased to know that most of these features are completely free, meaning you don't need a subscription to use the recording feature, the transcribing, the visualized mind map, and auto summarizing feature. You even have access to over 9 different templates for better organization. The only limitation is that the free account gives you 300 transcription minutes per month, and unless your job requires recording interviews or lectures constantly, I think 300 minutes is plenty of time. If you do need more minutes, you can upgrade to the Pro plan, which costs about $6 a month, and that gives you 1,200 minutes. That's 4 times more than the free plan. Plus, you have access to over 20 professional summary templates and an upcoming feature called Ask AI that lets you find specific topics or gives you recommendations just by asking. Speaking of upcoming features, Plaud is also working on integrating their services with some of the most common tools I use, such as Gmail or Google Drive. I'm really looking forward to this because integrating it with my most commonly used tools follows the same principle of having the least amount of friction to get me to my goal. Of course, it's not perfect, and there are some things I would like to see improved, but honestly, I don't think they're deal breakers. First of all, the NotePin feels like it takes a half second longer to activate when I squeeze it, and you'll know it's recording when you feel the device vibrate and you see the red light. It also requires a significant amount of pressure to activate, which makes it a little bit more difficult when you're wearing it on your wrist, because you really have to apply that pressure to make sure that it works. Then again, I suppose it's to help prevent accidental activations, but it's just an observation. This makes it wearing around your neck the easiest way to activate it. However, I don't like the look of the necklace that it comes with. I mean, I could change the necklace itself, and it's just a personal preference, I would say. I'm sure someone else could pull it off, but not me. I do like the magnetic band, but I do wish that they came in different colors. And speaking of colors, the NotePin comes in cosmic gray, lunar silver, or sunset purple. The size is a little bit too big for my taste, but for a wearable piece of tech that is fairly easy to blend in, I'll take it. And honestly, that's all I could think of. Pricing for the Plaud NotePin starts at $169 as of this video. I'm not sure if that's an early bird pricing, if it's going to change later on, but I think for under $200, that's a really good price for a device that actually is useful without having to subscribe to anything, especially today because we're really feeling the subscription fatigue. I was a fan of the Plaud Note when we first released it because it does the same thing as the NotePin. Ultimately, however, I prefer to not have to attach anything to my phone for me to use it. The NotePin seems to have addressed that specific problem thanks to its design. It carries the same great features, but with a lot less friction, less thinking, and more doing. I really liked my experience using the NotePin, not only because it's different than anything else, but because it's ridiculously easy and painless. And when something is easy to use, it becomes a very effective tool. Fun fact, the bulk of the script was actually written using the NotePin while I was sitting in the car. So I'll summarize my experience using the Plaud NotePin by quoting renowned UX designer Don Norman in his book, The Design of Everyday Things. Good design is actually a lot harder to notice than poor design, in part because good designs fit our needs so well that the design is invisible. The NotePin feels like that, invisible. And that's a good thing. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Click the link in the description box to learn more about the NotePin, and I want to say thanks to Plaud for sending me this tester. I really did enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you guys again very soon.